Elizabeth, do you want to go ahead and jump in and get us started?
Well, I'd be delighted to. Dear colleagues, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I'm so glad that you're here today for this training. This is the training for conference staff, for validators and other folk involved in search and call in and on behalf of the United Church of Christ. We're glad you're here today. What we're going to be doing is taking you on a tour of the new system. The new UCC Ministerial Profiles Portal system looks pretty different than it used to in some ways, but I do want to just point out it does function in pretty similar ways for all of you. We will be glad to answer questions at the end of our time. If there is something that is going wrong, like with your particular work, you can also email us at profiles@ucc.org, and either one of the MESA staff or someone from our vendor team will also be able to help you with that. I'm delighted that here with us today includes my colleague, the Reverend Jeff Nelson, our Minister for Ministerial Calls and Transitions, who began this job about 20 months ago, knowing that this was going to be a pretty significant part of his work. I do expect that Daryl Ludwig, our Profiles Administrator, will be joining us momentarily. And we're also joined and will be led for most of our time by our partners from Saran Systems. We're so delighted that they have built this project with us. They have also built the profile for the Christian Church Disciples of Christ system. And so it's really great to see some places where there's real alignment between our two denominations, not only in like who we're using for this work, but in what works and sort of what parts of the system are similar over there as well. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Alex, and let you introduce your team.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's our privilege to be with you all today, and really our honor to be able to provide a new platform for the UCC for profile circulation, distribution. And as Elizabeth said, we've been doing this for the better part of 25 years for the disciples. And it's just great to be able to help connect our talents to ministry and see how you all tend to operate, which has been really, really enlightening. And I've enjoyed getting to know some of the systems here. Joining me from Saran is Chris Widener from our marketing team. He will be sort of moderating questions at the end. Our presentation today will be given by Terry Hatmaker from Saran. Terry's our support engineer and is very familiar with the ins and outs of the system. And he'll be walking us through essentially your experience in the Profiles portal as conference staff. And as Elizabeth said, this is a brand new system. So we're polishing any rough edges, getting anything updated from the data import that we ran. But we're also continuing to add and build in new features and functionality. So stay tuned as we move into 2022, and there'll be some even more exciting things coming down the road, especially for congregations that are also in the process of search and call for new pastoral staff. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Terry, who will dive in and take us on a tour of the system.
All right. We're going to be looking at the UCC portal today from a conference and association staff perspective. Last week, you received an email that requested that you create a password for the new UCC portal. It might have looked like the one on your screen right now. That password, that email has your username as well as a link for being able to set your password. One of the things I've learned as I've been working through this with the MESA team is that the previous system, the username was an email address. In our cases, it is not an email address. It's just the first part of a lot of people's email addresses. So we found some people putting in like jhunter@gmail.com for a username. Just remember, it's not your email address, it's the username that was in your email that you received last week. So once you have this email in hand, you can then click the link here to set your password. So this will open up the Engage UCC Profiles portal. And you here in this window, you can now set a password. So I'll set a new password for me. And then click Submit. All right, so the password's been set. And now we have a button to be able to log in. One more time, you'll see that even in this window, it tells you what your username is. And so you, again, jot that down so that you don't forget what that is. If you ever do, it's real simple to kind of remember. It'll be your initial, first name initial, and then your last name. But if there are more hunters, if there are more J hunters in the system, there'll be numbers at the end. So you can always contact Mesa to get help on what your username is. Click on Login. And I'll save that. And so when you log into the system the first time, you're going to come to the Terms of Use page. If you can scroll down through here, read this information. This is the Terms of Use of the portal. If you agree with this information, you can click Agree and Continue. And this will take us to our home page. Now, since this individual is only set up for conference and to be a validator, the home page will be a lot different if you were here yesterday for the minister training. In this window, you only have personal profile and open validation requests. So we'll go through both of these sections along with searching for snapshots in our time together today. Now, in this window, at the top, there is a bar, a blue bar that goes across the top, and the upper left of that bar has the name of the portal and the name of the page. If you ever need to know where you are because you've clicked and you're not sure exactly what page you're on, you should be able to go up and look in the upper left, and it will tell you what page that you're on. Like in our case here, it says home. If you move over to the right, you'll see three bars here. This is a navigation menu. If I click on this, the navigation menu slides out, and you'll see that we have home, the personal profiles we see at the home page, validate profiles, again, on the home page, and then search snapshots. So this is where you would go when you want to search snapshots, and we will look at that here in a little bit. In addition, this is the area you would click in if you want to log out of the portal. And so we'll just close this menu, and then we're going to take a look, starting with the personal profile area. This area, you'll see your name, your location. You'll also see a photo locator here, photo avatar. We'll be adding a photo to this. Also, there's a link for editing your personal profile. In the personal profile page, there are sections for your name, address, and phones and email. One thing about our system with phones and email is that our system allows more than as many emails as you want in the system. So if you have three emails are connected to one account. That's different than what was in the old system. In the old system, you had to have an account for every email address. That's not the way this system will work. You can have all of your emails all associated with one account. So let's start in the upper left again with our name block. Well, here you have an opportunity to add a photo as well as add a preferred name. Now, the rest of the name information is not editable. If any of this information has to be changed, then what you need to do is contact Mesa, and they can make those changes. In our case, John Hunter does have a preferred name, and he likes to go by his middle name of Mark. And so we're going to put a preferred name of Mark, and we'll update that. Those changes were saved. And now you'll see that his preferred name is in parentheses. And if you look in the navigation area up in the upper right, you now see his preferred name is up here rather than his first name. Now, also, you can add a photo. And so I'll click on Edit again. And now I can add a photo. Now, if I'm on a phone device or a tablet that has the ability to take photos, I can take a photo of myself and load it directly into Engage. Engage is cross-platform, so it'll work on a computer, it works on a phone, it works on a tablet with no problem. If you don't have the ability to make a new photo, but you have one of yourself already saved, you can click on Upload Photo, then click Choose File, and then find that photo, and then upload. Now the photo has been updated and uploaded. You see the photo here, and it is also in the navigation bar. The next section over is the address block. In this address block, you can update your entire address. So if we click on Edit, all of these fields are editable. So if you change addresses, you change states, whatever, you can make that change right here. Once you've made the changes, you just click Update, and the profile is now saved in the database. Over to your right, we have phones. And as we said, you can have as many as you want. You can add a phone from right here. And so if I want to add a business phone, I can add a business phone. Also, I can add, this is the phone type. So if it's a different type of phone type, not business, you can add whatever one that you want. Click Add. And now you see that we have those two phone numbers here. In addition to adding phones, you can also delete once you have 2 or more phones added. So if I click on Delete now, you see that there's a delete button. Or I can come down here and do this and delete that one. Now, the system is such that it's always going to ensure that you have one phone and one email. So if I was to delete this business phone that we just added, and then go back into this mobile phone that's there, now the delete button is inactive, but I still can make changes to this phone number. I'll click Cancel here. And all the actions I just went over in the phone are also available with an email address. So let's add a new email address, and we'll just keep that email type, and we're just going to give it another name here. Let's see, jhunter@gmail.com. And we'll click Add. And so now we have 2 email addresses. If I click on Edit here, I have a new button, this Make Primary. Again, because I have more than one email address, the delete button is active. But if I want to make this email my primary email address, I just click on the Make Primary button, say yes. And now a yellow label with the word primary is visible for this email address. If I click Update, and now you see both email addresses here and the primary is set. That is a real quick overview of the personal profile area. Not a lot of difficult things. Just remember that you should go in and look at it, review it, make sure everything came over okay. And remember that you can have more than one email and phone number in the system. Now, let's go back to our home page. And we have that updated, and you see this information is updated here. And now let's go to look at our open validation request. Now, that's exactly what it sounds like. Any requests that have come in recently that you have not reviewed will show up here. If you have more than 3, you'll see the first 3, and then there'll be a line underneath here that says, let's say you have 6 more validation requests waiting, and it'll be a link that'll take you to those open requests. Well, where do you see those open requests? If I go up to the home button, to the navigation menu, and go down to validate profiles, you see that there's an open request tab and an all requests tab. Here are my open requests. So if I had 9, I would see all 9 here. If I click on all requests, you see I have some here. This is taking all of them that I've already reviewed, as well as those 2 open ones. And you can see if they've already been reviewed, your headers will be green, saying that they're done. Right now, the open requests have a yellow header. Just a real quick way for you to be able to see what work you have to do. But the easiest way to do this is just go to open requests. And so we have Joe Smith, and we want to go through her profile. Now, one thing that we know with respect to this is we've already reviewed it once and we sent it back. And so she's now sent it back another time. Now, you don't see that, but I just know that based on what I did to set this up. So if I click on review, you just can't look at the system and know that. Now, I could go back through here and you can see that her profile is pending validation. And I can go through and I can read through all of her responses. If I want to visit their website, that's an active link. I can click on it and go to the site. But now we come down to this section on validation steps. And so in this blue text area is where you're going to get information regarding this section. Like in this case, it's minister's legal consent is as follows, and then it provides the legal consent from the minister. But below this blue box are 4 checkboxes that you will use to validate this particular profile. So in our case, the first one is please verify with the association listed that the individual carries proper ecclesiastical authorization. In this other case, please review the criminal background check. The next statement is please verify the accuracy of current employment. And then the final is please verify with the association listed and all other objective records available to you that the minister does not have undisclosed items in the self-disclosure form. So in this case, if I know that all of these things check out, and so I'm going to put a check in all of those. Now, the next section is where you sign it. And so what we want to do is sign this. And then put a title in here. I'll put my title. And you can see that conference, what conference I'm in. And if there were any information that needed to be added for validation notes, for a return or anything, you can see that these validation notes are required. And so I'm just going to put in some dummy text, and then I'm going to approve this for circulation and say yes. So now Joe Smith's been approved, and you can see she's no longer on the home page. If I click on view all validation requests, I see now she has a green header, so that means she's done. Now, what do you do if you have a minister that needs to be returned? So I come in here and I'm going to review David Burns. So once again, here's his profile. Go through and read all of this. But as I went through it, I found some issues and I need to send this back to him. So as I was doing this, I was making notes in Word. And so I have these notes here. And so rather than typing them directly into the portal, I can come and take my notes in Word, highlight them, copy it, go back into the portal, right click and paste. And as you can see, it maintains the simple formatting that I have for this, including bullets and bolding and larger text. So I now have those things that in there that I want him to look at, and I click on return for review. It says, are you sure? And I'll say yes. And then I click OK. And so now all of my open validation requests are done. And I'm going to go and view all validation requests. And you can see that I have these that are done. And then I have David Burns in red here because I returned that. So you can see that a person is been returned by the color of the header. So rather than going back to the home, now we want to go and we want to show searching of snapshots. So searching of snapshots is under the menu, navigation menu, and I click on search snapshots. All right, so it took it a little bit because it's going to be pulling a lot of information. Just to get an idea, when we come into this window, you see that, excuse me, my results right now are being restricted to my conference, and my conference is Mesa. So anything that, any geographic availability someone has set for Mesa, I'm going to see here. So if I scroll down, we can see that there are 618 items in this list. Now, we're showing 25 at a time. So over here, we have some navigation buttons. You can go to the very last one by clicking this, and that takes you to the last page of items. If I click this first one, it'll take me back to the first set again. Or I can go page by page of 25 at a time. Now, if I'm looking for a name that I know is, let's say it's a last name of Z, I can sort on the name or the dates. So I'm going to click on names right here. And now you can see that starting with the last name of A's, it's going in ascending order. So if I want to get someone who, let's say, is in the S has an S last name beginning with S. And so if I hit 7 here, all right, so that's still in the E's. So let's go see, we have a lot of pages here. So let's go down to 18 and we're still at 22. So there we go. So now I can see the S's. Well, that takes a lot of work, right, to be able to find those. Well, I could come over to the search and filter results, and I can just start typing the last name of the person. So if I want to see like anyone that starts with STIR, then there we go. It brings up that name. If I want to see a Smith, I can just put in some of the characters of the last name, and then I can see those ministers. Now, when I want to clear this search, I just click clear search. And I'm again looking at all the ministers within my conference. Now you see that I see some snapshots where I can view snapshots. In addition, there's some where I can view a minister's profile, and these are the ones that are associated with my conference, okay? So if I just want to filter out any of those that are, where I'm seeing current and validated profiles, I can click on restrict results to current and validated profiles, put a check in here. It restricts it to my conference still, and now I see the names of ministers that are associated with my conference. There are only 145. At this point, we have 6 pages versus 25 or 26 before, okay? And we have validated profiles where we can view them for each of the ministers. Now, I just validated a profile, right, for Joe Smith, all right? And so that was Joe Smith, okay? And at the top of this page, I can download her snapshot, view her profile, or download the profile. So if I click on download snapshot, it now is creating a PDF of her snapshot. And now it'll come up and ask for me to save it. And it has saved it. And here is the snapshot that I downloaded. If I go back, I can do the same thing. I can view her profile from here. So I can click view profile. And once again, I'm seeing her profile. If I scroll all the way down, okay, you see that we have these buttons down here as well. So you can download the profile, view the snapshot, or download the snapshot. So if I wanted to download that profile, I can just click here. Once again, it's going to create the PDF. Ask me to save. It saved it. And now here's the ministerial profile for Joe. So once I've looked at any of that, I can go back to search snapshots. And if you notice, I'm using this back arrow right to the left of the icon here. And you may have a problem seeing the icon, it's in black. So I'm now back to the search snapshots window. I can clear this. And if I want, I can go back through this. I can go down and look at each of the ministers, go to the next page. Or again, I can search. So now here's one that was done. And again, I could view their profile. I can view their snapshot. So I could click here. And this is his profile. And again, I have the ability to download, view, and then view snapshot or download snapshot from this area. In these tables, you can see that you see a circulation date as well as the available start date for the ministers. And you can, if I clear this, you can sort these tables on those 2 dates as well as the name. One last thing that I want to mention is you see that there's this text here. It says additional filter options are coming soon. We're working to add these additional filters, and you should be, we'll be working on that, and hopefully you'll see that in the coming days. Well, with that, I'll go back to my home page, and that was an overview of the UCC portal for conference and association staff. I'll turn this back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Terry. Chris, do we have any questions?
Hey, I have a couple. First one said, I used to have 2 portal profiles, one for me as a minister, one for my role with the conference. Have these been merged, or do we still have separate portal accounts, one for personal and one for professional purposes?
This is Elizabeth. I'm happy to field that one. We do, for the moment, you still have separate accounts for each, but we're working on merging them. And conference staff, you can be assured that we are prioritizing merging your accounts. But we'll be working on that over the next week or so, and probably into January. So
This probably piggybacks on that, asked if the photo is added to the ministerial profile or just to the online profile. Or the online platform, I'm sorry.
So yes, the photo that you put into the system will appear when you are viewing somebody's profile or snapshot. They can also appear on validation requests. I think that feature's coming soon. So as your profiles are merged together, if you have one profile update or update your photo for your profile, that will carry throughout the rest of the system.
Alex, I think what the question is if I have a PDF, like the PDF of my validated profile, will it have my picture on that validated on that document, or does it just appear here online?
It'll appear in the document. Terry, can you go to your next tab over there, which has the that profile that you downloaded before? We want to look at the PDF, tab at the top there. Yeah, so this one, if you scroll down to that second page, there'll be a placeholder if there's no image photo, but if you do have a photo, that will appear in the downloaded profile.
And it does in the same way with the snapshot.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. I got my Eastern and Central times mixed up. But I was wondering, will we be notified when there is a profile that needs validation?
Yes, the system, as soon as the minister on their end clicks to submit their profile for validation, anyone who is marked as a validator for that conference or actually for the association, will receive a notification that person is ready to be validated. There's a link right in that email that will take you right into their validation to look over the profile and review it and proceed from there.
Great, thank you.
Are expired profiles viewable? In the old system, they were not.
No, they are not. Once the profile is expired, it will no longer be visible in the snapshot results or search results.
But we can still see the snapshot for the individual if their profile's expired?
Yes, that is correct. And the minister will receive notification starting 30 days before that expiration to give them some time to get a new background check and then resubmit it for validation so they could continue in circulation if they'd like.
I wonder if somebody from Mesa can review the best practice for me. It's not in my mind about ministers updating their profiles when they're not in search and call. We have tons of people doing ministry with expired profiles because they're not in search and call.
What a great question. I believe the new system says the encouragement is to update your profile every 3 years or every 3 to 5 years. That may or may not include validation. So I would, we don't sort of have a consistent, you need to do X or Y or Z, but that would be our recommendation. And of course, Bill, you know that people can update their snapshot for availability for things like being a boundary trainer or an OWL teacher, something, sort of like occasional service versus like a full call. And if you were doing something, my recommendation, of course, is if somebody says, I'm going to be a boundary trainer, they should be keeping their background checks current at all times for that sort of work. And that's something you can also ask for, even if they don't have a validated profile. You can say, we expect you to update your background check. And then we can get access. That can be done through this system. And then there's a way that we can get that to you all. Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense?
It does. Yeah, thanks. I sometimes go looking for people who say they're interested in certain things, or we don't get a lot of candidates, and so I'm trying to find folks who might be a candidate if they were nudged. Without being able to access expired profiles, that's a little more difficult. If they don't have a snapshot, it's impossible. So that's why I asked.
I see a couple of questions in the chat about getting validation requests for people who don't have standing in your conference. I think the answer is you need to reject it and put in the note saying you do not have standing in the Southeast Conference. Change your authorization to wherever it is you do have standing. But I'll let Alex validate that, and then I'll take the next question after that.
Before we go on, the one question was about the email. Would they get notified? So I went and found one of the emails when I was going through. This is the email that the validator would receive when someone submits their profile for validation in their conference.
Gotcha. Great. To follow up on your question, Elizabeth and Heather, the system essentially matches what the minister or mid who's been approved for ordination enters onto their profile under their ecclesiastical authorization for ministry, and it sort of matches up to the individuals who are tagged as validators in those associations. So it's entirely possible that, as Elizabeth said, they put the wrong information in. There could be some sort of cross wires in the system. I've not seen any widespread issue of that for notifications. So if something seems incorrect, if the minister's asserting, no, I put this in, and you're or you feel that it's a system issue, just pass it along to Mesa, to profiles@ucc.org, and we'll dig right into it.
Question about pronouns being more shareable and more visible. Here's going to be my recommendation. After yesterday's training, I added that to sort of like system enhancements we'd probably like to see in 2022. And in March of this year, we're going to send out a satisfaction survey, and we'll include a question of like, is there something that you'd like to see or to have changed? And if you put that in there, that will be a reminder. I promise you that is on our list. And we'll really look at making that available and easy for folk to see sort of on that page. We're going to look into that. So thank you very much for raising that for us.
There's a question about having validated a profile and then got no notice that it was available in your conference. Those notices should be going out in terms of when a profile is available for circulation. I'm 99% sure that is live. If not, development's wrapping it up. But just remember, the system is entirely possible for someone to have standing in your conference and have you validate, but if they don't have your conference as one of their areas of geographic availability, it's effectively not circulating to you, so it won't necessarily send that notification, but you can still see the profile as someone who is able to validate it. So that could be the case. If that doesn't line up with the experience that you got, I'd say drop an email over to profiles@ucc.org and let us look at the specifics.
Will do, because that wasn't the case.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let us know so we can dig into it. And I will check the status on that feature in the meantime.
If you send that to profiles@ucc.org, we'll add that into the queue. Someone asked if mids can get a background check through the portal once they're accepted, and the answer to that, I'm typing an answer as well. It says yes. They do need to be in the data hub though they'll need to create an account, and they need to be in the data hub before we can create an account for them. So so just remember to do that piece so that we can verify that they should have an account.
One more direct question sent to me. So they said that we have a very large conference that receives a relatively large volume of profiles, is there a way to filter out who is getting validation requests, notifications by regions or state?
Can you repeat that question? Because I'm not quite sure. See, we've got a conference with a big region, a big geographical region.
Yes, is there a way to filter out who is getting validation request notifications by regions or states?
It is possible, but you need to let Mesa know and it has to be done by association. So we can't get any more granular than association. But if, for example, like Southern New England has, I don't know, 4,000 associations. I do know that not every validator in Southern New England has access to all of those. And in those cases, then just email the profiles office and say like who should have access to which associations, and we'll make that change work. But I know this question also came up last week because there was one place where 2 conference staff are both validating in the same association, and they were like, how can we break this down more granularly? And the answer to that is we cannot. So you're going to have to talk to your colleague and say, which ones are you validating and which ones am I validating? Somebody has noticed saying that they're getting requests for previous conference staff. If it's previous conference staff, if you're getting an email, you might send those to the profiles, and then we can figure out, we might have already deleted their email, those old email addresses. But let us know if you're getting password resets for previous conference staff that you should not be getting. We'll take care of that. And then people have asked how profiles are being sent on to searching congregations. My understanding is that that process has not changed, that you would need to download it into a PDF form and then either email it or mail it directly to them. Please know that we are working with Saran to develop the digital local church profile. It is coming in 2022. We're so excited about that. And there might be a possibility from there to be able to, for there to be conference staff, you will still be involved in this. We can't have local churches just getting stuff off the website. But we may find we can explore a way to facilitate that a little bit more easily.
On the disciple side, that process is called flagging and sending. So I've got a great model for how that works, and we'll be happy to explore it once we get the congregational profiles up on the system.
Friends, this has been a real gift of working with Saran, is that they have said things like, you know, Oxford, Oxford just sends it and it automatically attaches. And they said, would you like to do that for us? And we said, yes, please. So this sort of cross-pollination has been extremely fruitful for us.
Is there a way to see the instructions for certain sections of a profile, for example? I have a profile pending and the candidate has listed under vocational history, campus minister, and they've listed it for a university. And I need to remind myself, is that a vocational history thing or is that something different? What's the definition of vocational history and that kind of thing?
What a great question. So their vocational history should include all ministry related positions, and it can include additional positions. My dog is making her presence known, by the way, in the background.
Sure. Is it an additional position if they're serving in a campus ministry situation that it's really part of their local church job? Should they list the university?
Oh, what an interesting question.
So the real question is, I might be able to sort it out on my own if the definitions were I could click and see, oh, that's what this section is
so
for.
like
but I don't,
part of their job is campus minister and part of their job is local church pastor.
Right. They're not receiving a paycheck from and they're not a volunteer approved through the university. They're just doing
Oh,
it.
what a really interesting position. You know, that might be worth noting under like notable achievements or other pieces, to just sort of name that it's like part of one's call in the local church. I think that it's nice that they separated it out to highlight that that is part of their job responsibility. So email that to me and I'll think about it for you.
Thanks for taking the question.
Conference staff who worked with me know that I'm an external processor and I have to talk myself into an answer. Well, dear ones, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate, even though some of you have been in it and have been playing with it and maybe are pretty well versed in the system already, I appreciate your time today. We will also be working in January to have like abbreviated versions of each of these trainings to be available on the UCC website, just as we did with the vintage system. Those aren't quite there yet, but our priority really was, let's do the live training so that people can ask the questions that they have and really get stuff answered, you know, live. Yeah, gosh, I really appreciate you all. And let me just also say, I appreciate the real grace that you all have extended to us in this process. As there've been like little glitches here and there, and everyone has just been very kind about it. So I want you to know that I see you, I see your kindness, and I am really appreciative of it this Advent season. So thank you, bless you, have a wonderful Advent and Christmas, and we will also see you in the new year. Take
Thank
care,
you all.
everyone.
Everyone have a great rest of your day. A wonderful Christmas.